Thinking and casting. What we're going to do today is we're going to show you how to make a rubber mold and make the castings into the rubber mold. And the cool thing is we're going to do this all in an hour. Sweet, okay? So anyway, that means I don't have a lot of time to talk here, but I'll talk while I work. How many of you have experience doing this at all? Zero, zip, nada.
I've got a bunch of smooth on stuff sitting on the floor of my house.
Oh, that's a good start. Okay, so you've made the effort, you just haven't
went there yet.
Okay, all right. Let me quick give you some examples of some things that you could do. First of all, any costume piece that's not actually a fabric, a gauntlet, glasses, if there was a gentleman getting made up out there by the front desk, all that kind of crazy stuff is possible with these sorts of materials, okay? If you had to reproduce buttons, belt buckles, any of that kind of thing, armor, weapons, okay? You can do all that kind of thing with these materials. Some more difficult than others, but it is all possible, okay? And it's all possible really without having to throw away a whole lot of money. Sure, you're gonna have to spend some money to do it, but it's not terribly expensive, especially if you start making more than one. You know, if you and 20 of your friends want one of these things, then all of a sudden these become pretty cheap, right? Make sense? Okay. What we're gonna, here's another example. Real quick. I'm gonna pass around just a few things. We make those things in little molds that we cast up all the time. But this guy's a little more complicated. This came from Disney. One of the first things that you have to figure out about mold making is the level of difficulty and ultimately how you're going to make the mold. Okay, you got a piece like this versus a piece like this. Okay, this is one of your early decisions. If you're gonna make a mold of an object that's real simple that you can basically throw on the table and it lays there flat, can you imagine how difficult that's going to be able to contain the rubber or whatever you're going to pour around it? You got an idea how you might be able to do that real easy? Speak up.
Just make the impression and do something, fill a mold, and it'll find itself up there.
It's fairly simple, and what we're going to do is we're going to really cheat. We're going to take a cup and we're going to cut the bottom out of the cup. We're going to basically do that. Cut, and then we can pour stuff right inside there and use that to make a mold. Now, see what I'm doing? Okay. Boom. Now you got a container to pour stuff. But now let's talk about something really goofy like this guy. Okay. He's got arms sticking out. He's got antennas sticking out. He's got all kinds of goofy things going on. All right. This isn't quite a molding nightmare. Okay. But in comparison to this is a molding nightmare. Okay. All right. So there are levels of difficulty involved. Is this impossible? No. We made the mold and we made parts. It wasn't impossible. And keep in mind, we don't do this professionally. We sell stuff, which basically means, you know, we're almost idiots when it comes to making things, right? But at any rate, it's not difficult to even make things like this as long as you study it and you think through the process. Okay? So what I'm going to show you today is good and simple like this kind of thing. If you wanted to do it tomorrow, you can do it tomorrow. No big deal. You just go to YouTube, watch a few videos, next thing you know, you're making molds. Okay? Give me some examples of how this applies to what it is that you're doing. This is an interactive class. What do you need to make? I mean, you're here for a reason.
Armor.
Okay. So you're thinking gauntlets and things of that nature? Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
I want to start making some latex pieces.
Okay. So you want to do prosthetic makeup sort of stuff. Okay. All right, cool. It's related. The human body is just another thing to make a mold out of, right? Okay, you got to use slightly different materials, but it's basically just a big model. Okay. We do that kind of thing regularly. We sell materials on a regular basis to Teen Wolf, Vampire Diaries, Walking Dead, movies that are in town are all good customers, and that's basically what they're doing. So, prosthetics is an everyday thing. Okay. Do you do it out of the box? No. You study a little bit and start with something simple like hand? Absolutely. Can you sculpt?
So far, all I've done is I made a set of Minotaur horse out of fiberglass.
Okay. Okay. You're going to get a good idea of what's going on today. And then from there, it's going to be up to you really to take it to the next level in terms of your questions and in terms of your quest for knowledge. Okay? But it's all very positive. All right. What do you say we make a gear? Can everybody see? Okay. We're going to make a gear today. It's simple. Here's what you need. You need to have something called a base. All right? Don't use a piece of wood. Use something slick. We've tried to use glass. It's okay. It'd be better if you went someplace like IKEA and you bought their cheap cutting boards. Okay? They work really, really well because they're slick, nothing sticks to them, and yet you can still use the next tool you need to get, which is a hobby quality cut out knife. You can use this thing to glue your object to the board. It'll stay well enough, but it's not so permanent that afterward you can't take it apart. Okay? So it really is that simple. Sometimes your objects are going to have one side that's obvious to be the one to stick down. In this particular case, this gear has two flat sides. I could stick it down on either side. I'm going to take the flatter, it's got one smaller circle and one bigger circle. I'm just going to use the bigger circle as the side that's going down. Does everybody understand what I'm doing so far? Hot melt. Low tap. Bada bing. Bada bing. Okay? Let it sit for a minute or two, but basically there's your deal. That's the first move. Okay? Next move. Drink. Okay.
Easy to disguise vodka, isn't it? So it's so easy to disguise your vodka.
Okay. You see cups up here. I brought and I borrowed different cup sizes for different purposes. The chemicals that we use are mostly mixed by volume. And what makes it even better, the chemicals we used are mostly mixed in a ratio of 1 part to 1 part. Okay? So you don't have to, like your experience with fiberglass, you had that and you had to kind of guess as to how many drops of stuff you put in there.
No, the free young stuff that I got was basic. It was pretty measured kind of stuff.
Oh, very cool. Okay. But 1-to-1 is pretty easy to do, which basically means that if you go to Kroger, you get a collection of cups, in all likelihood, you can do a cup and a cup. This is a 3 ounce. Okay? Need a bigger batch? This is a 9 ounce. Okay, a cup and a cup. If you're not quite sure you're going to need the whole thing, you can always use clear cups and fill them and then just kind of match the line eyeball, right? Okay. So total investment in mixing supplies, $5. Okay. And then you get some slightly larger ones. I think these are 18s or 20s. Just have some of these because you're going to need something to pour these chemicals into to mix. And then sticks. Okay. You want to get fancy? You go get a box of tongue compressors. You want to get cheap? You go to Home Depot and you steal paint sticks every time you're in there. Okay. Or if you've got scraps of acrylic, you cut them up. Whatever. You go to Wendy's, you get spoons. The goal is to mix the product. There's no rule that says how to mix it. You can mix it with your finger. You can't mix it, but you get the idea. Just mix it. Okay. We're using these tongue compressors. We can buy these by the bazillion and they're pretty cheap. Other tools in the trade. nothing to do with safety. You don't want to get this stuff in your eyes. You want to try to avoid getting it on your skin, okay? Will it hurt you? Maybe. Okay, every body is different, and you have to be aware of how these chemicals react with your body. If you start feeling goofier than normal, and you're working with this stuff, take some extra precautions. If you start breaking out, get out, okay? There are people who will react like that. How many? Maybe 1 in 1,000. Maybe you're the lucky guy. Point is, you want to play the game right, you get nitrile gloves, you wear the gloves, you make sure that you've got good ventilation, which means that if you're working in just a normal space, try not to work in the kitchen, okay? But in any normal circumstance, have a fan, blow air from behind you, across you, and out. Does that make sense? You don't want to blow the fumes to your face. You want to blow anything that's coming away from you, okay? Will it smell? If you have a very sensitive nose, you might pick it up. But does it really smell like good old-fashioned polyester resin? No, nothing like that.
Can you get those gloves at just Home Depot or wherever, like you would buy normal?
You can get them at our place, but you can also get nitrile gloves at Kroger. Okay, I've seen them at Kroger. I've seen them in Home Depot.
You can get them at any drugstore.
You can get them at any drugstore. But again, you know, ultimately, if you come see us, we're going to have all the different sizes sitting there waiting for you to spend your money on. And we also have these. You can still go to Kroger and get these.
You guys have a shop here locally?
Yep, down by the airport.
And if you're
The address
really
is on the
cheap, go to
card.
the hospital, walk around the floors, they'll have them lay on.
Okay, next move. Somewhere around here I have a knife. Alright. Again, we like to keep things simple, and I only learned this little trick a couple of years ago. Find a cup that fits over the model, okay? Not too close, not too big. You wouldn't want to take a 32-ounce cup from Circle K and do this unless you just want to spend more money. That's perfectly okay if you want. You'll just use 3 times as much rubber as you need to. But the goal here is to get something that'll fit over it and give you maybe a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch extra. That's all you really need. Okay? That's enough to keep this thing running. So, you've got this cup. You take a knife. Without cutting your fingers off, you cut the bottom of the cup. There it is. Okay? Real simple. Now, back to our friend the hot dog gun. You don't need to worry about gluing this thing down from the inside. You only have to tack it down from the outside. You start off, just hold it in place. You glue it in 3 or 4 places. You let that set up. This stuff is pretty fast. How many of you already have a hot melt gun? Okay. All right, see, we're making progress. And then once that's dry, you finish the job by running the bead all the way around. If it doesn't leak, it was good enough, right? I am intentionally trying to make this sound simple, right? I'm being self-serving. I want you to think it's really easy so that you can spend lots of money. But the fact remains, it is easy. Okay? Where you get in trouble with this stuff is when you overthink it. Okay? Anybody here go to Georgia Tech?
What'd you say?
Anybody here go to Georgia Tech as a student? So I can talk bad about? Okay. They'll overthink everything. Okay. They're the kind of guys that will have super, super tight tolerances and then run a factory bought 1/4-inch bolt through that hole. They're just wasting time. So anyway, don't overthink it. I can say that I have a daughter at Georgia Tech. Okay. Don't overthink this stuff. Look at it for what it is. Use your common sense. You'll be fine. Common sense works with this stuff. This is not chemistry. This is not doctorate level work. This is the kind of thing that anybody, as long as you can go, oh, that's the same volume as this. As long as you can do that and you can read the instructions, you're fine. That's all you need. Okay, so this thing's done. We just completed a mold box. And all that with me talking about it. So, you know, if I wasn't talking, it would have been done a third of the time. Oh, another important thing. When you're doing this kind of thing, you notice you pretty much have all your tools kind of set out here. You want to have a garbage can, okay, with a plastic liner in it, and you want to have it to where you don't have to think about it to hit it, okay? Because after a while, you're going to be going fast. You'll get good at this, and you'll put certain things on automatic, one of which is this movement, okay? I don't need this anymore, boom. So the garbage can has to be where you can hit it almost blindfold, okay? So we don't have one here, so I'm just gonna have to be careful. But that's one of the tools of the trade that you really ought to have. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a rubber that's called Mold Star. Silicones used to be hard. You used to have a scale. You used to need to have a scale to mix this stuff up with. Because it was all very critical that it be 10 parts to 1 part by weight. Not anymore. This stuff is now mixed, not all of them, but this particular family of products is mixed 1 part to 1 part by volume. And I'm totally guessing how much I need. But that looks close. All right, now, somebody with eyes needs to tell me when to stop when I pour the next side. Notice this one's white. Okay. This one is blue. This is called Mold Star 16. This stuff, once we start mixing it, I need somebody to tell me when I got it. I can't see. I need the 2 lines to match. Am I getting close?
You're out there.
Okay. A
Uh-huh.
little bit more.
A little bit more.
Oh. Make up your mind, people. So if the mold doesn't turn out right, guess whose fault it is?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
All right. The cool thing about this stuff is that it goes off like the other rocket ship. Okay? Again, going back to the old days, you mix up a batch of silicone and 24 hours later, if you were lucky, you'd be done. Okay? This stuff, 30 minutes. Okay? Which means that you get instant gratification. All right. Now, I could, in theory, in fact, I think I will. I'm going to dump the contents of one of these into the other cup. Okay? And that'll work because I didn't really fill these things up very full. Then I'm going to scrape the contents of the one I pour together into one of these cups, and I'm going to mix it again. So I'm going to mix it once, and I'm going to mix it again. The goal of mixing, especially when you have this really neat convenience called 2 colors, is to mix it to where it's all the same color. Okay? No streaks. Once there's no streaks in it, you're good to go. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to pour the white one into the blue one. We don't have a lot of time. But the thing about it is, you know, we talk about 5-minute working time and so on. It sounds like, oh my God, that's just no time at all. Well, the truth is after a while, it's all the time in the world. I want to do that. Okay. So we got this beautiful thing going on here. It kind of looks like somebody's sick idea of this kind of dessert. This is not hard to mix. I'm going to walk through it. It really does. It looks like something that I'm not going to use, but some 6-year-old would probably use as well. All right. See how it's still got streaks in it? The goal is to get the streaks out. Okay. Once I get the streaks out, the stuff's mixed. So if you will excuse me, one of the downsides to having a 30-minute demold, you only have about a 5-minute pouring time. After that, it's too late. So I'm going to go ahead, even though it's not completely mixed yet, I'm going to dump it into the next cup, and then I'm going to go ahead and mix it again. And I'm going to trust that the majority of what may not be mixed is still in this cup, and I don't care. Because it's in that cup, not this cup. Okay. Feel free to ask questions as we're going along. I just poured in a thin stream. I hit the center of the piece, and there's a hole in it, okay? There's a hole in the piece. I filled the hole. Now I'm letting the material flow down, and I'm going to try real hard to let it flow off only on one side. I can't believe my hands are this steady. I've only had about 8 cups of coffee today.
I came in late. What are you molding?
I'm molding a gear.
Okay.
Yeah. It's nothing special, but it's easy to mold.
So say under a piece of metal, would you have to like degrease it with alcohol or something like that?
Be a good idea. Yeah, you want them clean. Yeah, while I'm pouring this, there's not a heck of a lot you have to worry about when you're making a mold, other than cleanliness. There are certain things you have to be real careful of. We'll talk about that. But also, if you're making, let's say you're making something off of a piece of wood, or any of your mold box is just straight wood. The problem with wood is that it's porous. Okay? And one of the things people don't always realize about silicone rubber is how good it is at reproducing detail, including the pores of the wood. Okay? This stuff absolutely will flow into the pores, get down into the grain, and lock on. Okay? It does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is reproduce detail faithfully. So if you don't seal the wood, which means you don't prevent that silicone from getting down into the wood, it's going to lock on the wood, and when you take it apart, you're either going to leave silicone on the wood, or you're going to take wood up with the silicone. It's not going to separate properly. So anytime you're working off of wood, you need to make sure that it's sealed. You can seal it with clear lacquer. There are chemicals that you can buy from us that will work, like clear lacquer works. You can use latex paint as long as the latex paint is completely and totally dry. Okay? Can't have any loose latex around, or it will inhibit the cure of the silicone. Okay? Notice when I said gloves, I said nitrile gloves. Okay? There's a reason for that. That's because, again, latex will inhibit the cure of certain types of silicone. So if you want to do this kind of thing and you want to wear gloves, just get in the habit of wearing nitrile gloves. Okay? Vinyl, anything but latex. Okay? Other things that can go wrong include, but are not limited to, sulfur. How many of you like to sculpt? Well, this is going to be easy. Okay, when you decide you want to sculpt, don't use clay that has sulfur in it. Okay? And it's not uncommon to find sulfur-based clay. But sulfur will also screw up the cure of a silicone rubber. And a lot of urethane as well. Okay. We've got this thing poured. Now we just wait about 30 minutes and we'll be able to make ourselves parts off of that. But I also have other molds laying around, which means we don't necessarily have to wait. So let's talk about finishes. What do you want these things to look like? Okay. I assume that you want to get some kind of an antique-y looking finish on things, whether it's a metal finish or something along those lines. Am I correct? Okay. You don't necessarily have to do that with just paint. Okay. That's this one. This was made with a black resin. It says it's not a paint. There are powders that you can sprinkle into the mold, and then when you pour the chemical into the mold, it picks up the powder and takes on that look. So, for instance, if you wanted to make an inexpensive but good-looking bronze statue, you can do it by taking bronze powder and applying it to the surface of the mold. Then you cast material behind it, and it picks up the powder. So instead of spending $40 billion on a hunk of bronze, you're spending a couple $100 on the powder. There you go. So it's not all that tough.
If you use the powders, do you have to be careful with the point?
I'm sorry.
If you use the powders and stuff, do you have to be careful how you're pouring it in?
Well, there are different ways of doing it. If it's a lightweight powder, you can dust it in the mold. If it's a heavy powder, then in all likelihood what you'll do is you'll mix up, and I've got the stuff here to show you. You can mix up a little batch of the resin, put powder in it, and then brush it into the mold. Okay? And then let that kind of cure. Then you can pour more stuff behind it. So how about if we just show you? All right. If you want to come up here and get closer, that's perfectly okay. You are not going to hurt my feelings or some want to do of anybody else behind you. But you don't have to stand all the way back there if you don't want. All right. Here's an example of a powder. This one happens to be called Silver Bullet. So it's going to leave, I wouldn't call it a chrome looking finish, but more of like a pewtery finish. Does that make sense? Okay. The only thing you really need to apply to that, it's a brush. So we've got a silicone mold. Who's a good catch? This is volunteer. No, you're carrying something. Here, you look good. Catch that. All right, pass it around. It's a hunk of silicone, okay? The nice thing about silicone is that nothing sticks to silicone except silicone, which means that we can mix up these resins, dump it in there, not worry about having to use what's called a mold release, which means for you guys, if you need to paint these things afterwards, you don't have to worry about going to a lot of trouble cleaning these parts before you try to paint them. Make sense? Okay. If you like trying to do the most perfect paint job in the world on a car, but you forgot to clean it off, and you come back later on, and that beautiful paint you laid down is all bubbled and fisheye and all that kind of stuff because you didn't prep it. The silicone mold means you don't have to spend as much time prepping the part to accept the paint. Okay. So in this case, we're going to take a little bit of this powder. And I'm just going to dust a little bit right in the center of this part. Okay. And we're just going to spread it around with a brush. You can all see the fumes. It's very fine powder. You want to breathe it, but is it really, is it anything more than, you remember when pollen was at 10,000? You know why pollen was at 10,000? It was pine. Okay, well, it was at 10,000 because pine was it, and every pine tree in the world was popping at the same time. But the truth is pine is such a big pollen, it does what it thinks and it just falls, and that's why we have yellow cars. Okay, most people that I know of were not having problems with pine pollen, but it really did cool things to the number and made us kind of famous, right? It didn't really hurt anybody, but it looked. Okay, so that's like this stuff. It's just a powder. That's no big deal. Okay, now chemically, we got all kinds of different ways we can do Remember I said earlier, most of these chemicals are mixed 1 part to 1 part, okay? This stuff is not an exception. But this is a different product. We were working with a silicone. This is a urethane, okay? Urethanes, generally speaking, will make plastic, okay? That's a really good and simple way to understand the differences. We're talking about silicone as a liquid rubber. Most of the time, you're going to talk about urethane as a liquid plastic. And the difference between the two is pretty straightforward stuff. Rubber is rubber, plastic is hard. I'll give you an example, a bowling ball, okay? Bowling balls are not rubber, bowling balls are urethane. Bowling balls happen to be about the same hardness as the chemical we're about to pour, okay? So they are liquid plastics. Now, I know this is not going to take a lot of product, so we're going to use the little 3-ounce cups. Okay? This stuff's pretty watery. I'll walk around with it in a second. So you guys can enjoy the wonderful aroma. If not,
What's the work time on your thing? What was that?
this stuff, you get about 3 minutes to work, and we're going to demold this puppy in about 10 minutes. Okay. Now, there are different products to do different things. One of the things that's fun about this stuff is, for the most part, they all start off looking like this. What we got? Somebody tell me. You got a clear one? We got all those kind of cameras. Okay. Most of them look this way. The cool thing about it is that when it kicks, I know this is very cool. I know. Okay. When this stuff kicks, a really fun thing happens. It changes colors. Very exciting. This one, though, this one's going to stay kind of a nothing color. Not really clear, but your basic amber. The cool thing about it is that if we wanted, let's say we needed a color, let's say we were working toward a, like a translucent red for whatever reason. You're going to try to match up the color in the liquid, right? It's just, it makes common sense. You want to try to hit a red, you're going to try to hit the red in the liquid before you pour it. If you start off with a product and you mix it together, it changes color, you can guess all you want where you need to start with, but until it actually cures, you really don't know where you are. Okay? Because like there's a lot of these that'll when they cure, they'll go to this color. They'll start off just like that, but when they snap, when they actually become a solid, they go to white. Well, if you got red in here and it looks beautiful, and then it snaps to a white, what color are you going to end up with? You're going to end up with pink. Okay? And you're going to go, no! And then you're going to have to go buy more material. Of course, we'll be happy to do that. But with a nice, easy, doesn't change colors material like this, and it has a very cool name, we call it color match. Then you can get your color, and you're going to get it way closer. Is it going to be perfect? Maybe. But at least you got a chance. Okay, enough talking. I'm going to use one of these cups this time. Not one. Dump the other. You go. Put them in the box. Okay. Not hard, right?
So say I want to cast like a gem.
Yeah. Yes. You could use this and not color it or make it translucent. Okay.
Would you also be able to add some color to that, like mustard?
Yeah, you could do that. All right. So basically, it just looks like a cup of ginger ale. Okay. And it's pretty much, it's a little thicker than ginger ale, but, you know, technically, if you want to get down to the exact numbers, this stuff has a viscosity of about 80 centipoise. Who knows what that means? What's the viscosity of water? Okay, 1. It's real close to water. So I just filled up a mold. I got a little bit left. That's why we have more mold. I'll pour some in. And then when it cures, you can see the difference between the two. So I've taken part of this stuff and poured it into a bowl that has powder in it. So we're going to see what you can get when you just have a powder finish in there. And again, this one's kind of a silvery, pewtery looking hue. And then I've taken some of this material, poured it by itself into another mold so that you can see what it looks like if you don't color. Okay. The range of color, it's all over the map. Can you pretty much do anything you want? Yeah. Here's a question. Why do you think you would want to have resin that out of the proverbial bucket is a different color? What would be the benefit, let's say, to having a resin that starts off black? If you're making a black part, okay, even if you were going to put a finish on it, if you ever scratch the paint, it would make a lot more sense to have the substrate the same color, or at least close. Okay? So one of the nice things about this product line is that we've got a black one. It's called Onyx. Sometimes it makes sense to work with a white product, and when it does, we've got a white one. And there are times when it makes more sense to work with something that's more bonish, tannish in color. Okay, we've got one of those too. But you're always able to use your own color. Okay? And you can blend your own. If you know your colors, you can get the primaries and do anything you want, right? Okay, but if you're a color dummy like me, just get one of these. Okay, you can pretty much do whatever you want. These are what do they call them? They're called Ignite, and they're fluorescent. Okay, so they're really bright and hideous. I love them. These are just your plain old-fashioned boring colors. This is known as So Strong in the Sloan world, which is the manufacturer of all this stuff. These are very potent colors. A little bit goes a long way. Okay, we've got ranges of colors ranging from flesh tone all the way through the normal colors, and then specialized ones like this. Again, if you're going to do special effects, chances are good at some point or another, if you're going to do stuff on your face, you'll eventually want to simulate blood. Okay? When you do, we got blood. You all noticed how much more business there is, or how much more is going on around Atlanta just in the movie trade? You see these trailers all over the place? Yeah. You can thank the Georgia legislature for that when they pass tax incentives. They get a 30% tax credit anytime they buy materials from a company in the state of Georgia. Not only that, but you've got now literally hundreds of people, probably closer to thousands of people who have jobs now thanks to this. Yeah. So yeah, does it create a traffic nightmare sometimes when they close They closed Highway 41 down by Atlanta International Raceway down in Hampton. They closed it for like 2-3 days while they were shooting this big giant car wreck scene for Walking Dead. Nobody complained. Okay, because it's money.
Yeah,
It's really cool. Okay, let's see where we are with this stuff. Well, that's a good sign. Is it done? Not quite, but it's close. Okay, these guys, are they done? Get close.
Does the powder adhere to the front side, or does it cause like a chemical reaction and actually color the whole piece?
Oh, I see what you're saying. And the powders are going to stick just to the face. Okay? But we could always blend the powder into the chemical and pour it. Okay? Sometimes it makes sense to do that. Like if you wanted to have a real deep glittery look, you could actually blend the glitter directly into the resin and pour it in there. You just have glitter all the way through it, and then when you shine a light on it, you're going to get a different effect than if it's just on the surface. Okay. Put your finger inside that. care of them, they're fine. What I'm showing here is this stuff gets warm. That's how it works. It creates an internal heat, which, whoa!
Just going on those chemistry words.
Say that louder so everybody can like
Exothermic.
it's an exothermic reaction. Public school? Yes! Oh, I'm happy. Anyway, it just gets warm, okay? This is nothing terrible rocket science-ish. It's just that that's what happens with these chemicals. Now, there's a lesson to be learned here, and that is that it actually has to get hot for it to work. Okay. If we were making something thin, okay, good comparison. We've got the shell, we got this thing. Okay. What's going to happen here is that this is thin, this is thick. This has a bigger thermal mass than this does. This is going to cure faster than this will. Okay? What will happen is that this would cure in the center where it's got a greater thermal mass, but it wouldn't cure on the outside edges for quite a while longer. So some of you might say, well, how long does this stuff take to cure? Well, they test it in a cup where you have a fairly significant thermal mass, like this. Okay? And in a cup, this stuff might sit up in 10 minutes. But when you spread it out in a thin film, it might take 15 or 20 minutes. Okay? So, if you're pouring something little, it makes more sense to go with a product that's designed to go fast. Okay? Again, you might be looking at the numbers on the product and go, wait, I got to mix and pour this stuff in 90 seconds. Are you out of your mind? Well, again, when you get good at this, you'll understand how to make this stuff work. Your movements become a little more fluid. It's like your muscles get trained how to do it. The next thing you know, it's not tough. This is not like learning how to play the guitar. Okay? How long does it take to learn how to get good at this? About 3 mistakes. You're going to be really good at it. No, seriously, at the end of like a couple, 3 pours, you'll have this stuff down. Okay? This is not tough. But let's say you want to do something really, really big. Okay? There are different products that are designed for that kind of thing. Right? And what we do when we get really, really big is we slow the chemistry down so that it doesn't get too hot. If it gets too hot, bad things happen. You can't actually boil this stuff, in a manner of speaking. You get it so hot to where it starts to shrink and do all kinds of really crazy things. So, what to take away from this is that anytime you step away from something you know, like eventually you'll say, I know how to make these. And if it looks like this, or if it looks like this, I'm good. I know what to do. But if it gets goofy, okay, let's say you want to make an octopus, okay, and you got a tentacle that's going way out here, and the question is, I don't want that tentacle that's 3 feet away to get all floppity on. I don't want to do this. How do I handle that? That's why you got people like us, okay, and we do that kind of stuff. Come to us and tell us what you're trying to accomplish. And what we're going to draw on is a bunch of experience from other people who came to us wanting to make octopuses of a similar shape. We hear these things. Okay, we got a guy right now who's making a fireplace grate for a movie, and I guess the plot of the thing is that somebody's going to pick up the fireplace grate and smack somebody over the head with it. Okay, so he's making a rubber fireplace grate. How many of you have seen the Three Stooges movie? Okay, I saw the Three Stooges movie, but that just makes sense that I would see the Three Stooges. All the hammers and, all that stuff are out of rubber. That's just how they do it. And then they use the sound effects. Okay, that's still just a little bit tacky. That's real close. let's see where we are with this. All right, the gear had a little bit more mass. That's the other thing that I put. Had a little more mass than that other guy. So here, how long ago was it that I poured this thing? It's a little soft, but it's out. Okay. So what did that take, 10 minutes? Okay. So with the exception of this mold drying and me being able to pour something out of the mold, we have gone through all of the steps in 45 minutes, and that includes me talking about it. Okay? This is not hard stuff. I really would like to ask the question, is there something specific that you want me to talk about? You were talking about face casting and all that. Now, there was another question about armor. Okay, tell me what you want to do for armor.
Actually, Old Republic Jedi armor. So it's gonna have to be sculpted in clay, and I'll do all of that. So I need to know about clays and whatnot. And I'm local, so it's easy for me to come down here and see them.
Okay. The two questions that we've got on the floor right now are both having to do with the process. Ultimately, it starts off with what's known as light casting, okay, where the poor victim, sucker, model, whatever, you make a casting from the body part. In your case, if you want to do prosthetic makeup for the face, okay, if you wanted to turn yourself into Eddie Murphy, okay, or whoever, and you got to change your face, you got to start off by making a casting off your face. Okay. So you make a mold from your face using either silicone or alginate. Okay. There are tricks to that. That's a separate issue altogether, but it's very possible. It's very fast. It better be fast. If it's not fast, the poor guy getting mold makeup made off of his face is not going to be a happy guy. Okay. You're talking 30 minutes, in and out. Okay. But the cool thing about it is you make this mold, you get the mold off, then you pour plaster into that, and you make a reproduction of the face. So now you've got this plaster mug looking at you, right? And now you mentioned clay. That's the thing that all this has in common. You're doing custom stuff that you are going to wear. There's a pretty good chance that you need to make it specifically to fit yourself, especially if it's going to go on the face, if it's going to go on your body, and you do not have the 99% of the world body. You've got, a normal body. You probably want to do it off of some kind of form that represents you. Okay. There's the pattern. Same product. Let's see the difference. And once you have that, it's like having a mannequin that's you. Okay? Once you've got your mannequin figure, now you sculpt what you want onto the mannequin figure. So you sculpt the armor. You sculpt the new face. Okay? If it's gonna be, for lack of a better term, the zombie kind of thing, well, you sculpt the gaping wound. Okay? Then you remold it, and now you've got the original cast, the original face cast or arm cast, whatever it was. You've got the new mold. You put those things together. There's some space in there. What was that space between those two castings? It was the clay. Okay. So you scraped off all that clay and you fill that space with either some kind of a latex or some kind of silicone. And there's what's known as the appliance that you're going to apply to your skin, or the part, the custom piece of armor. Okay, and it perfectly fits you as long as you don't get it away. Okay, so that's that game. It's an entire world in itself. Okay, you just got the 2-minute version of it, but that's a lifetime. Okay, What else? You got a question in there. I can tell, I can feel it. It's there. What do you want to make with this stuff? You just want to learn? Okay. Yeah.
How would you make, like on that gear, let's say you wanted to have a molded both front and back to it, because you're not necessarily affixing something, so you need to have maybe like a split, so you can make a front and back.
What you're talking about is how this guy was made. Because again, now that we've gone through the process, you'd think, we could stick this thing down to a flat board, right? And we could pour something around there, and you're almost right, except for the fact we got these arms. So there's just no way that you can extract this piece through a hole because it's got these arms hanging out. Okay? So you have to make this with a two-piece mold. Okay? And if you look at a lot of the stuff that's available out there, even commercial, if you look at pots and pans, toys, you look carefully along there, you're going to see a line along the side of the part. That's the line that their two-piece mold came apart at. The technical term for that is the split line. Okay. I'm going to pass this guy around, and you'll be able to see the split line in it, where this mold came apart. Okay. This is the mold. There just happens to be another part, which explains why it's so heavy. You set the guy, you were talking about clay earlier. All right, the simple explanation for this is that in order to create the split line, you have to set this guy in a bed of clay, literally, a big blob of clay, and you have to shape the clay around the object to get to that center line. When you pass this guy around, you'll see what I'm talking about. So you create, using clay, the line that you would then use for pouring the first half of the rubber. Okay? Let's see if I did. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So you pour the first half of the rubber, and then you clean all the clay off, and it looks like this. Right? Make sense? And then you pour rubber around it for the second half, and now you've got this two-piece mold that comes apart. Is it more tricky? Absolutely. Does it stop at two-piece molds? Nope. Depends on the shape. If we had an arm, if we had some other goofy shape coming off of this guy in a totally different direction, it might be necessary to make this mold in more than two pieces. But these parts will talk to you, and they will tell you what they want. In this case, do you see anything about this shape on this side that would prevent you from going in this direction? You see any weird ear, anything, hand, anything here that from this side would keep you from wanting to go this way? Is there anything that would block it up? Okay. What about from this side?
The ears, maybe.
Okay.
You're
The
gonna catch
ears
one on the ears.
maybe. Okay. That's a good one. But even the antenna, pretty much, you're in pretty good shape. So from here, you can pretty much go in this direction. Okay. So therefore, in this guy's case, we know we've got about half of this guy that wants to go this way, and about half of this guy that wants to go this way. Okay. If his legs were spread apart, and let's say he was wearing a kilt, okay, then you got all the stuff that's up under here, and the only direction it wants to go is straight down. Okay, so that would be an example of the third piece. So you have a down piece, a front piece, and a back piece. So there's a three-piece one. But they will; these things will talk to you. All you have to do is listen. It will tell you. There's only one way you're going to get me off the face, and this is this way. One way you're only going to get me this way. And you're going to sit down with a pad of paper. You're going to draw it. And if it's really easy, you'll get it the first try. But I always encourage people, don't assume that you write the first time. Okay? Do what you think in terms of your sketches, and come back to it and do it again, and see if your second sketch matches your first one. If it does, you're probably right. Okay? So that's a 2-piece mold. Speaking of which, let's cut this thing apart. Another nice thing about plastic parts, they're very destructible. It's another nice thing about hot melt. You can rip it apart. Okay. The only interesting thing about this is that little piece in the middle. But it's rubber. Boink. There it is. Okay. Here's the original. Here's the mold. We just did that now. How much does this cost? This kit is a quart of rubber. I used, what, 6 ounces maybe to make that mold, which represents, you know, if that's what I was making, I could probably make 5 of those molds out of this kit. It's $30. Okay. Okay, to the plastic, depends on which one, figure $25. Okay. So you're into this for 55, you throw in the little gewgaws, the sticks and the cups and whatever, and you know, $75 later, you're making stuff. Okay. If it's fun, when you go to larger kits than this is the cheapest and it's the most expensive way to buy this stuff. Okay, it's a convenience pack. But if this 2-pound kit is $30, the 18-pound kit is about $180. Okay, so it goes from $15 a pound to $10 a pound. So is everybody cut out for this stuff? If you're creative, especially if you want to do some of your own stuff, or here's the other thing: if what you want is totally not available, you got to make it. Okay, you got the tools. It's not that big a deal. Can you make flexible parts? Could you make? Could you, in theory, make foam replacements for? What are they? There are certain rules about weapons to be carried around in conventions like this. Okay, you can make fake weapons that are soft, won't hurt anybody, and yet they'll still look right. Okay. In the real world, you can do all kinds of interesting industrial objects. If you've got an idea for something like the greatest kitty litter box, okay, we got the stuff in there. The only limitation here is really not your ability, because this stuff is not difficult if you just go slow. The limitation is your own creativity. Okay? If you believe you can do it, you can do it. It's that simple. It's not. I'm through. Unless there's something else you want me to do. But as far as I'm concerned, I think I covered it. Questions? Okay. I appreciate it.